Typhoon Gaemi is scrubbing the coast of Taiwan today as a catastrophic Category 4 storm, on the weaker end of Category 4 status now, after it weakened from land interaction and possibly shear, but I think it's mainly land interaction, after making a bit large effect in Taiwan, I could say. 130 miles per hour is the current winds that we have this at, 946 millibars, moving east-northeast at 8 miles per hour. Seacoast code red for the storm currently. That's 115 knots, by the way. So here's the current location as of 7:30 PM Taiwan Standard Time, July 24th. 23.7 north. And 121.7 east, 16 miles from Guangzhou and Hualien City, 24 miles from Jiulin, and 68 from Taishan, 103 from Tainan. Sorry about the pronunciations if they're incorrect. And then we have the wind field, 75 miles to the northeast, 55 to the northwest, 60 to the southwest, and 70 to the southeast. There's a typhoon warning for the entire of Taiwan, Ishigaki and Yonaguni. A yellow typhoon warning anywhere south from Wenzhou to Guangzhou, off the coast of China. And oddly, an orange typhoon warning for Wenzhou, which isn't even on this map because it's just above where it's shown on the screen. Primary hazards are damaging winds and flooding for this storm. And it says here, as the storm slows down, these dangers are amplified, increasing the risk of prolonged exposure to severe conditions. The slow movement of the storm can result in extended periods of heavy rainfall, which it will do once it turns back as well, obviously cause even more wind and rain, and leading to extensive flooding, potentially severe water damage. Additionally, the strong winds can cause widespread power outages, as we've seen already, structural damage and hazardous conditions for anyone caught outside. The combination of these elements makes the storm particularly dangerous and necessitates any preparation you should take if you're caught in the path of the storm. The latest track forecast, now we know it's going to loop, we want it to weaken down to a Category 3 as it probably will, seeing as it has been weakening already. It might turn around, well, will turn around, make landfall as Category 3 possibly, and weaken as it goes into China. Now the JTWC's forecast code is quite outdated, as you can see. They don't know that it's looping yet because I believe this was 9Z when their last update was put out, this cone, and this is not at all where the storm is located. The storm has already passed it went 4 kilometers from the coast of Taiwan, actually, I believe, and now it's heading northeast, I believe, or east. Now, max sustained winds for this storm, obviously, as I've gone over, is 130 miles per hour. We are at agreement with ATCF and JTWC, but GMA have gone for 115 miles per hour, so they're just on the cusp of major status for this storm. Sea surface temperatures, well, you can see there are pockets of different temperatures, the average there being around 30, 32, so we'll go for 31. So that's obviously going to cool down once the storm passes and dies off when we expect it to enter Taiwan and China later on this week. The shear analysis, well, obviously every storm will have some shear, and this storm has quite a lot of shear to its southeast. The southeast quadrant of this storm pushing 50 knots, I believe that is, of shear. I can't quite read what it says, but I believe that's 50 knots of shear. Maybe even above 50 knots, which is pretty high. Now we will look at this, the multi-model diagnostic. So the track, obviously, as I said with the cone from GTWC, it's definitely changed a lot, but it's interesting to see there that HWRF wanted this storm to, once it got to China, make almost a 90-degree angle and head off towards North Korea, or eventually while following the coast inland of China. The intensity graph is pretty much roughly the same for all the storms, all the models, sorry. GFS though, they are wanting it to be quite lower than what it is for every other model, and the shear obviously follows around those lines. We did see the southeast sheared more, and it depends whether the storm is inland or not, but the shear stays roughly around the same. Same with the sea surface temperatures. Obviously it gets colder once it goes north or enters land, and you can see there on 28th of July that HWRF bit where it comes out into the Yellow Sea, I believe that is. Now let's take a look at the imagery. Obviously, before we talk about that, those models, they will change drastically now that we know this storm is going for a loop. Obviously this has been a surprise to all of us that the storm has decided to go for a loop and didn't even make landfall. Even it was 4 kilometers off making landfall. So here's an infrared cycle of the storm, RGB. You can see obviously the cloud tops aren't doing as well. That I believe is due to land interaction, as it usually is for storms. When they go over land, they weaken. So here's the radar as well. Now the radar is beautiful, to be honest, and you can see that slight jog to the northeast. I'm not sure if that's a jog or if it's set in stone though. It could actually be exactly what's going to be happening with the storm, but obviously the storm has affected Taiwan enough that it's going in for more, and this time hopefully it makes landfall so we can get it over and done with, instead of having to wait again with the storm stalling over the area and just dumping rain and also causing damaging winds, as I mentioned and showed earlier on the update, where it talks about the primary hazards, and they were the primary hazards that I mentioned there. Now obviously, thanks for watching, and this storm has been, obviously to everyone, defied all of our thinking about what this storm would do, and decided to go for a loop.